Due to the physical nature of the game and for how long the season goes on, injuries are a regular part of Major League Baseball. But of course, not all injuries are created equal. For every injury that happens on the practice field or during the game, there are other injuries that are just plain weird. The result of strange flukes, being at the wrong place at the wrong time, or just having terrible luck. With reasons that range from playing too many video games to having a dream that went from bad to much, much worse. So today, we're going to take a look at some of these bizarre situations and try to figure out what they tell us about Major League Baseball. These are the stories of some of the weirdest injuries in MLB history. This is Sports Oddity. Before flamethrowing relievers became the norm in Major League Baseball and the likes of Aroldis Chapman and Jordan Hicks were dominating the league, there was Joel Zumaya. When he first broke into the big leagues in 2006, Zumaya burst onto the scene with authority, largely as a result of his unprecedented fastball. From the minute he first took the mound at the big league level, he immediately became the hardest throwing pitcher in all of Major League Baseball, and largely as a result of that, he had immediate success at the big league level, posting one of the most dominant rookie seasons for a relief pitcher in recent memory. As such, he would become an integral part of a resurgent Tigers team that would win 95 games that season and make it to the playoffs for the first time since 1987. That year in the playoffs, Zumaya immediately made his presence known, first by posting dominating outings against the Yankees in the ALDS, and then by throwing the fastest pitch ever recorded in a game at that time in Game 1 of the ALCS. However, during that same ALCS, an incident would occur that would unfortunately go on to become one of the most memorable moments of Zumaya's short big league career. Shortly after throwing his record-setting fastball, Zumaya was sidelined for the rest of the championship series with a wrist injury. The team treated it as a minor injury, but it was obviously something that still affected him as the team moved on to the World Series. But at the time, Zumaya and his team kept their mouths shut about what the injury entailed and how it actually happened. That was until later that offseason, when general manager Dave Dombrowski let it slip in an interview that Zumaya's injury was caused by him playing too much Guitar Hero. Now, a star pitcher being sidelined due to video games is already a bizarre enough story as it is. But what makes this story even more bizarre is that the Guitar Hero story may have just been a cover-up for an even crazier tale that never saw the public light. In an interview with the Detroit News published a few years after his retirement, Zumaya spoke on the situation publicly for the first time, stating, "I've never spoken about this to any media, and I'm gonna keep it that way. I know what the truth is. My final answer was that I got hurt with the Guitar Hero, but that was some bogus stuff." But regardless of what the truth actually was, the Guitar Hero story became a main part of Zumaya's legacy both on and off the field, even garnering a reference in the credits of Guitar Hero 2, which read, "No pitchers were harmed in the making of this game, except for Joel Zumaya. He had it coming." If you're interested in learning more about this situation, Starkraving Sports put out a good video about this just a few months ago, and I highly recommend you go check it out. It does a great job of going much more in depth about Zumaya's career and how this injury ended up affecting it. You can find the link to this video in the description down below. Trevor Bauer entered the 2021 MLB season as the reigning Cy Young winner in the National League and the highest paid player in all of baseball. But back in 2016, Bauer was simply a former first-round pick with a bad reputation to his name. Ever since he entered professional baseball in 2011, he earned the ire of many people from around the game. Many of his coaches didn't like him because of his stubborn nature, and how they would constantly butt heads with him over how they wanted him to prepare and pitch. A lot of teammates didn't like him because of his unique personality and how he would always bring a bad attitude into the clubhouse. And finally, a lot of baseball fans didn't like him, whether it be for his outspoken politics, his weird antics on and off the field, or his penchant for punching down and harassing people who criticize him online. But if there's one thing in particular that solidified his reputation in the baseball world, it was what happened in the 2016 ALCS. Much like Zumaya, Bauer is in the middle of trying to bring his team to the World Series for the first time in a long time. And in that series, he was scheduled to start Game 2. However, just a few days before he was scheduled to start, tragedy struck. At the time, one of Bauer's biggest hobbies off the field was flying drones. And that night, he was attempting to repair one of his drones at home when the rotors began to spin without warning, resulting in a huge gash in his pinky finger that ultimately took 10 stitches to close up. In order to minimize the damage, both to Bauer and to the team, Cleveland moved back his start from Game 2 to Game 3, but ultimately, the damage had been done. Bauer's stitches would burst open in the very first inning of the game, and after just 21 pitches, he would have to be pulled out due to the amount of blood coming from his hand. And while Cleveland went on to win the series and Bauer recovered enough to pitch in the Fall Classic, it was clear that the injury was still bothering him. He would start games 2 and 5 in the World Series, and in those games he would give up a combined 5 earned runs in just 7.2 innings of work, ultimately earning the loss in both of those games, both of which could have been the difference in winning Cleveland's first title since 1947. But unfortunately for both Bauer and his team, due to a freak accident, they're both going to have to wait just a little while longer to get that ever-elusive ring. Over the course of a 13-year Major League career, Glenn Allen Hill was known for plenty of things. He was mostly known for his power, and for being the only player to ever hit a home run to the Wrigley rooftops. He was also known for his, let's say, lack of prowess with the glove on the field. But among other things, Glenn Allen Hill was also known as a huge arachnophobe and a sleepwalker, both of which would contribute to one of the most bizarre injuries in baseball history. In 1990, Hill was in just his second year in Major League Baseball playing for the Toronto Blue Jays, and at the time, he was still getting used to the hectic lifestyle of being a full-time big league ball player. As such, Hill would often find himself worn down from the road, constantly under stress, and not keeping that great of a diet, all of which contributed to some very bad dreams early on in his career, which would culminate in one fateful night during the middle of the 1990 season. That night, Hill had fallen asleep on a couch and had immediately jumped into a nightmare about a group of giant spiders chasing after him. A dream that was so lifelike that it caused him to start sleepwalking in the middle of the night and trying to fight off the spiders in real life. But unfortunately for Hill, instead of finding spiders, he instead found a glass table in the middle of the room. Because of his huge size, he smashed right through the glass, and because he was still in a semi-conscious state, he started crawling through the pieces of broken glass before eventually coming to. Ultimately, the incident would leave him with cuts, scrapes, and bruises all over his body, a stint on the 15-day injured list, and a new nickname that would stick with him throughout much of his Major League career: Spider-Man. While Hill's injury may not have come with drastic consequences for his team like the other two players did, his injury, as well as the other two, served to send the same message across: that freak accidents can happen at any time to anyone, and that even the biggest, strongest, and fastest athletes in the world can sometimes fall victim to the stupidest little things. Sometimes these situations turn into valuable life lessons for younger players that might be taking things a little bit too recklessly. Other times they're ultimately harmless, and they serve to bring us yet another funny anecdote in the lore of Major League Baseball. But either way, Injuries like these always have an interesting story behind them. How's it going, everyone? Connor here with the Diamond, and thank you so much for watching this episode of Sports Oddity. If you like what you saw, you can show your support by liking, subscribing, and hitting the bell icon down below. And if you want to see a part 2 to this video, be sure to leave some suggestions down in the comments. If you'd like to see more of our content, you can check out more using the link right next to me, or if you just want to watch some more baseball videos, we've got you covered with the playlist down in the corner. As always, you can find us online on our website, readthediamond.com, or on social media at TheDiamondUS on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.